quick looked at there? Is it like that's, hey, my guy's got him tied up, and like what allows you to know this is a moment to have a quick look?
Yeah, I mean, this is a non-danger scenario, right? Um, you try to get as many looks as you can um, without, giving up an opportunity when the guy has a puck on his stick. And obviously, the puck isn't on the guy's his tape right now. There's a battle in the just behind the net, so you have an opportunity to take a look and see who's coming off the bench. Where guys are at. In this scenario, there's a battle. I think is at 10. He's probably going to grab it and rim it up to the D. I think it is,
Yep.
or even our guy rims it up to the D. So on my instinct, I go down in case the puck happens to spot close to the net, and I'm immediately right back up. Like I said, I try to keep my feet as much as I can.
And you come off your post here. I'm just, curious again, like, so you actually not quite take a step, but you get heels outside of that post, a little bit of an overlap.
Yeah, obviously with my frame, I use the overlap a lot. Anytime it's basically from, let's say, the dot to the bottom of the circle, um, I'm in an overlap. I like that better than being down in an RVH. I even prefer the VH on my glove side, so my left leg side. I hate using it on the right, but so I would tend to use the overlap a little more on the right, which is why the Panda was kind of reinvented. But in this scenario, I just try to get to my top of my paint. He releases it from the point and just try to corral this rebound. There's a moving screen, and thankfully our D man ties him up just enough to really give me a good look at it. So pretty easy save there.
Okay, so we're gonna see that moving screen. You've had a look, top of your crease. I think
Yeah,
there's probably a lot of people that might go, oh hey, you've talked already about size. And it's funny, I see this a lot with Saros, but people are like, oh, he's smaller, so he's got to be way more aggressive. This puck's at the point. It's not like you're not even heels out, right? Like it's not like you. It just seems to be a narrative that exists. Like, oh, smaller goalie, he has to be more aggressive, and yet you don't see you don't need to here.
yeah, it's kind of like that scenario for myself has changed quite a lot in terms of depth. Um, like my first pro year, I played way outside my paint. Like I was even beyond heels on the red. Um, and like I was just moving so much in terms of like I had a long way to go, long routes. Um, Last year, I became confident in my abilities in terms of if he's between the dots, I try to take as much ice as I can, while also being aware of who's a threat as a pass option. And even on PKs, like if a guy's on a flank, like I'm pretty deep. Depends on the scenario, but teams are so good at ticking it around that you can't take ice as much as you'd maybe like to. Like I know, like when you watch the Oilers, like they tick that sucker around like it's on a string. So um, if you're creating long routes for yourself in terms of depth and pushes, you're gonna make life miserable on yourself.
I was gonna say that's where we talked, and last time we had you on the podcast, the end of last year, and Scappers talked about lines, sort of like having one leg
Yeah,
within your line straight up from the post. That's probably made a big difference. I just want to go back to the screen here because obviously you're how is there anything you do to help you train yourself on this? Like you said, it ends up being a fairly routine glove save, but
yeah,
you've got a massive humanity coming into your vision. I think there are a lot of us, well, maybe that's the difference between you being an elite goaltender and some of us ending up in beer league who might have flinched as that guy comes into our vision or would have been anticipating him maybe tipping rather than being able to stay on this puck all the way into the glove. Are there keys or secrets or things you do to try and make sure that these distractions that are all over the ice don't take you off the puck visually and physically?
I mean, in this scenario, your sole focus is on the guy releasing it from the point. So in this scenario, you're probably not even um, looking, or you probably don't even really see this guy a whole lot in your left peripheral. Um, like I said, our D man does a great job of tying him up to give me an extra half or quarter second. If he is still moving like now as the puck is getting me, it might hit him. You know what I mean? But our D-man does a good job, gives me an extra just split second and holds him up so that becomes a catch that's routine, right? Like if that guy's an extra half foot towards the middle of my paint, that hits him and probably creates a scenario that makes it a little more difficult. But
A broken play.
yeah, yeah. So obviously this is a power play. So for myself, pregame or like just day of game or whatever, I like to know what the opposing team PK is or the power play is looking like what their setup is, like what they like to run usually. Like a lot of teams will run the same plays over and over and over, right? Um, so obviously in this scenario, there's a long pass from Carlson to who's that Couture over there, and there's a lot of time in order to get over there, which is a gift. So I'm able to get my feet set as best as I can. I remember later in this game too, same scenario. They fed it over to him and he hit it, but he tried to hit that guy at the net front for a tip. So in this scenario, obviously, I was still only 4 minutes into the second. I'm probably nervous as all can be.
Well, we're
So I'm still trying to get my feet wet.
Awareness too, though. Like as this puck comes or another spot where you can take a look as this puck comes around
Yep,
the boards.
absolutely.
Okay.
I try to look, like I said, if you can look as many times as you can, it just gives you good awareness of what the possible next play could be. Like as soon as I take this look here, I know this guy's tickling their afters for a 1T. So as soon as Carlson gets the puck here, the tendency is going to be he's either going to put it to the net or he's going to give it to the 1T guy.
And because it's Carlson, you have to respect the fact he can put it at the net, I'm guessing. And you've got
Absolutely.
a screen in front. So before we get to the pass, walk us through the mindset philosophy on this screen as this puck gets to Carlson at the point.
Yeah, so my immediate first thought is I want to try to get near side vision. So obviously I'm shifting to my right-hand side, which would be the near side. I try to get as tall as I can to see the pass or the shot or the release. As long as I'm able to see the release, I'm going to know exactly where it's going, unless obviously it's broken play. In this scenario, I know it's going to Couture. He's going to hit it. So I try to get my angle and get a good push and get my feet set as quick as possible. In this scenario, I don't think I necessarily got my feet as set as I would have liked.
The little bit of drift that like you're basically in the process of stopping as he releases it. But it looked like that screen actually hid the pass from you ever so slightly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, guys are good at taking away your eyes, but at the same time, in this scenario, you know what's likely going to happen. They probably have done this play earlier in the game to this point. So as soon as the puck's going to the left side, I know I can just get over there and try to get my feet set. Like even in this scenario, like I'm a little deeper than necessarily I'd like to be. But you also got to take into account the net front threat as well. Like he's just sitting there waiting for it.
Right, and you said later in the game you tried to pass that across for a one touch. So if you're over aggressive to your left, when we talk about routes, if you come over aggressive here and he lays that off to Lorentz for a backdoor tap in, you have no chance.
Yeah.
Whereas here, even if he had done it here, you have the ability to extend or push into it a bit.
Some guys in the net front are really, really good too. Where they'll sit practically at the back post. Like he's kind of in the middle of my paint. So even if he does get a tip on this, he's probably putting it into me, or I'm in a good position already to have a chance. But if his blades, an extra foot or two back, like that gives him as a shooter a way better opportunity if it were to go for a high tip. But yeah, I try to get my feet set here, and no rebound, so that was lucky.
Okay, so you talk about routes, that path that you make across here, like just can you walk me through like the thought when we talk about routes, explain to me what that means on this one. Like what you're prioritizing, I'm guessing angle. You talk about depth, you prioritizing angle as your first first priority?
Yeah, first priority is you want to get to your spot. In this scenario, the spot is within your paint. Um, not too deep, not way outside your paint, which it would be pretty hard to be outside your paint um, with a shot coming this quick from a high to low. But I mean, the very first goal is to get square and get set. Depth is just the extracurricular. If you can get it, great. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world. And in this scenario, getting depth is not possible. So
right, and maybe you wouldn't have anyways, just because the backdoor threat.
For sure, yeah, you got to take into account what's at the net front, what's around you as well, which comes back to those looks throughout the play as well.
Yeah, I'll just let this one play a little bit. So I think this is another kind of below goal line to slot play. It's a little bit different.
Which is a big part of the game right now. There's a reason we work so much on post integration.
For sure. Just the way that teams defend. I think that's where a lot of the chances can come from. If you can rim the puck and then you kind of get the defense turned, and then now some soft areas open up, especially Toronto does a really good job of making these plays. So I think for me, again, the same thing, like you can see on the rim there, it's the shoulder check to see where he is. So then once his back's turned, I'm very aware of where this threat is net front, because again, from here, that's a passing position 95% of the time. His back's turned, he's on his backhand. It's going to be he might be able to throw the puck to the net, but the main threat is here is to make this pass, which you can see is definitely open. So I think for me, staying on my feet on this play is, I like the read just because he's a little bit further out. There's not as immediate of a threat in the crease. So, then you kind of have the option to be on your feet or get to your knees. And then on this play, it's just getting to here. And then I think what's important on this save is just getting the feet set. I think if I'm drifting out, then it's hard to have access to your hands and to your legs to be able to make the save. But I think if you can just get your feet set, for me at least, then from there I can just drop or hold my feet and make a simple save and kind of have more access to those limbs. So I think for me, especially with the lefty, he's going to hold it, so get the feet set and then you can make the adjustments, whereas a righty is probably more of a one-timer on this play. So
so that read, having that early scan, knowing it's a left-handed shot, allows you to approach this with a little more patience.
Patience, exactly, yeah. I think a righty is going to be probably going to come to the net a little bit quicker on this play, or lefty he could offside one time it, but that's obviously not as comfortable of a shot for players. So I think it's just understanding the hand helps for sure, and then from here it's just understanding where the net is. I mean, there's not much space to shoot, so I think it's just making it a simple save.
Nice.